jingle still, Steve. When you're on
Hey,
radio days.
we're live now. We can't talk about jingles now.
Oh,
We've got to crack on. I do have some. I got some of those old carts, the old analog type
yeah,
things.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's the Cardiff City phone in. There was potentially one more person on the panel tonight, and it'd be great. A guy called Steve who travels to all the City games from Plymouth. Funny enough, and hoping he'd come on, but I slightly messed up. I only just recently sent him the invite via email, but we got a good panel anyway. So we got Jamie Anderson, resplendent with Cardiff City AFC behind him, which is nice. Nice to see that badge there. Alan Hopkins and Nigel. We are still top of the league. Harris. So pretty good lineup. I'll go to you first, Jamie. As I said on the weekend, I had to work on the weekend, and I was that's where I bumped into Steve actually on West Bute Street. And he had a City shirt on, so we got chatting. But and then when I finished working there, I was on the way back. It was half time. We were 3-1 up. I thought, great, loads of goals coming, but not much happened. But even having said that, against one of our major rivals, really in their eyes, yeah, really comfortable win, really comfy win. Was it as comfy as it sounds, Jamie?
Yeah, I think we dominated from start to finish. Okay, they had a penalty, but I think that just put us up another gear. It was nice for Jack Wilshere to leave the stadium with a lot of pie on his face with his comments the week before. And the highlight for me, one of them was the song that the fans started singing, which is "You're just a shit Aaron Ramsey." So yeah, it was a good day all round.
Excellent. Looks like Steve is going to join us now, which is really good news. That thing with the manager beforehand, Jack Wilshere obviously had a really good career. He probably have an argument about Aaron Ramsey, but we'll leave that one for now. Yeah, in terms of who was a better midfielder, but I see that as kind of kidology, really, just like sort of spurring them on and giving them a bit of self belief before the game, and because rather than genuinely thinking they were going to turn us over, I suppose you got to do your bit, haven't you, to encourage your players to turn up and do their best.
I think so. I mean, their away record is the reason why they're probably not higher up the league. I think they average 1 point a game, which is, with their recent form is terrible, and he's struggling to find the answers. He doesn't know why he can't replicate the home form on the away days. And yeah, listen, and today we play what's in front of us, don't we? And we played very well. It was lovely to see Alex Robertson in the six. We played free-flowing football. Ollie Tanner flying down the wing, getting another assist. Perry NG, wow. Wow, give the guy a new contract already. And like Nige just got there, and we're still top of the league with a lovely result that happened in Lincoln.
Yeah, and Aled, talking about Perry NG, reading up on it, and Brian Barry Murphy said he'd heard all about it, but he'd not actually seen one in real life, and then he scored that goal. But it's indicative, isn't it, of the fact that so many of our players, are taking it in turns to score goals. They're all sort of chipping in with goals, aren't they? Which is great to see, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I don't have the stats in front of me, but I know there's quite an even spread of goals amongst the team, and I heard somebody at the start of the season make a prediction that Joel Colwell would score more goals than Ruben, and that's coming true at the minute. But obviously Ruben's been out, so but it's great that we've got so many people chipping in with goals, especially the likes of Perry NG, where was it 4 years ago at Birmingham, he hit that free kick and we were like, where did that come from? That sort of thing. And he does just pop up with a moment like that every now and again. He can be frustrating at times, but he can do silly things, get caught up in off the ball stuff and let his discipline get away. But on his day, he is capable of something like that. And he's a real asset, I think, to us especially in this league.
Yeah, because there was a time, Aled, wasn't there? Probably last season, because let's face it, we were a little bit less unhappy, weren't we? Then, we weren't quite so full of joy last season. But there was a time when it looked like Perry NG, maybe he didn't want to be at the club, and maybe it was time to move on. But he just seems to be totally rejuvenated, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, and obviously Capaccio started at the start of the season because he was coming back from injury. But I think his experience is invaluable really in this. We've got across the board really a pretty young team, as we all know, but you need those characters like Perry NG with his experience at this level, and I think he's a better player than this level. I think most of our players in that squad are at the moment, and he's that kind of experience is needed. You can't go into a season, famous is it Souness? No, Alan Hansen quote. You
can't win anything with kids.
Yeah, and to some extent I agree, but you need that experience in the squad, and he's not only providing depth and support to Capaccio when he's been out in and out of the team, but he's contributing, as we all know he can as well.
Yeah, and Nigel, of course, Perry NG and Wintle, the good mates, they put together a crew and all the rest of it, and I suppose they're both kind of spurring each other on, because again, Ryan Wintle's another one who just seems to have really kind of turned the corner this season, doesn't he? It's just good news all round, Nigel, isn't it, really?
There's so many players who rejuvenated, aren't there, in the BBM? I mean, this time last year, I think a lot of City fans couldn't have cared if we got rid of Wintle and NG last summer, because they were, Wintle wasn't around, was he? And he wasn't even getting much game time at Millwall. And NG seemed to spend more of his time learning out, just carrying out dark arts and concentrating on football. And they both turned themselves around this season. But they're not the only ones. I mean, Callum Chambers is another player. I think, he's experienced, but he didn't look like he was really producing well enough for City last season, and even in the early part of this season. But the last 3-4 months, I don't think it's been a weak performer in the team. And Rotherham last week, I went up to Rotherham, and Luton this week. I think they're two of the magical performances. The first half, especially against Luton, we could have been 5-1 at half time, not 3-1. When they turned it on after the penalty, Luton couldn't live with us at all. And it's just fantastic to see. You've just got to enjoy these times. But I think BBM's right. I think he said the longer the season goes on, he's confident that they are going to get better. And it certainly looked like that the last couple of weeks. Yeah.
I mean, some of the flow in football, some of the moves, when you actually see the number of passes and the moves where we're playing around the park, it just seems to be so absolutely buoyant and full of confidence, don't they?
Yeah, and there's an end product now, isn't there? A few weeks ago we were talking about there's a lot of passing going on. There's not much of an end product. We've scored 12 in the last 4 league games now. Top scorers in the division. So, there is an end product, and possibly Ollie Tanner coming back into it has made a bit of a difference up front, because there's a different attacking dimension to the team. But, every player is just come on leaps and bounds. And the most impressive thing to me is that we are losing players for injury or, suspension. It doesn't seem to have upset us at all. Whoever comes in just fits in perfectly, isn't it? And, Salek, when we lost him, we thought, that's going to be problems. Hasn't been at all. Ruben Colwell, when he went out injured, we thought that was going to be devastating on the season. Hasn't been at all. And that's testimony to the coaching, BBM, and what the players are doing, that nothing puts us on our stride at all. It's just magnificent to see.
Yeah, it's so different, Jamie, isn't it? To last season. Steve, I don't know whether you can hear us, or we can't see you at the moment. If you can hear us, say hello. Be nice to hear from you. Or I know it's the first time we've come on. You're struggling with technology a bit, but so Steve is the guy who travels to every home game from Plymouth. So I really would like to get him on. Jamie, we were talking before this we went live. About that thing, which I think is the same as me on it. I thought it was just really nicely done. The guy from the Luton Supporters Trust after the game. I don't know whether he does that every game, but he must have had someone filming him and whatever. And the sound was quite good. Just a really kind of honest, well thought out, considered, and very complimentary analysis of the game, recognizing that we basically blew him off the park.
Yeah. He did an immediate post-game review, didn't he? And he was, calm, and he was collective, and he praised us. They've also done one with another member of the Supporters Trust they've got, and he said, I know Cardiff fans, for whatever reason, in the past probably have got their hopes up and they've waited to fall. He said, but we've seen the likes of Lincoln, we've seen the other teams, he said, and you're by far ahead of it, ahead of them. But the biggest thing they were confused with more than anything was we both went down at the same time. But what we've done, which they haven't done, is we've got a way of playing. We've got a group of players that are very, very good, and they're good at what we do. And like I said, I think we dominated from start to finish on Saturday. And even with the penalty, I think in years gone by, we would have conceded and we would have kind of had a sticky spell for 25 minutes or whatever. We just let it get on, like similar to the Rotherham game with the Wintle red card. Okay, right, now we need to pick it up again. And they did. And I think that resonates when you look at the sideline and you see BBM. And like I said, he's like a Duracell bunny. He's bouncing, he's heading, he's kicking everything. And listen, we've always said negative traits can be infectious, but so can positive traits. And I think you mentioned Callum Chambers there. Callum Chambers, people probably raised an eyebrow thinking, why is he club captain? We're starting to see the reasons why. He is experienced, he's calm, he's collective, and we've got a great hold of, a good nucleus of, mature and youthfulness that has shown us to where we are now, I think.
Yeah, and that's interesting, isn't it? Again, with Callum Chambers, we don't really know what his salary is, and it's none of our business really. But he's one of those players who, along with Robbo, was on some, fairly kind of weird site saying he's like, stupidly paid more than other players in the division. But again, he's the one everyone said, no, he's not a central defender. He can't defend. But at times, he's really played that captain's role. Jamie, do you think he's going to? Do you get feeling that's going to continue if and when we do go to the next level?
I think it depends if BBM stays. I think in last week's press conference, he was very, very complimentary of the manager, and you expect that. But like he said, he's modified the way he played. Originally last year, he saw himself as a number 6, and he thought he was going to be this different type of player that he maybe hasn't played for, as for years. But BBM has found a way to use him, and not just use him, but effectively use him. It's we've got 4 very good centre backs at the club.
We have,
so it's nice. It's nice having these selection headaches, because I think when you listen to BBM, it doesn't matter how good you've been or how good you've been Monday to Thursday. If your training is toxic on the Friday, or you're not up to the standard on the Friday, he will not pick you.
Yeah.
So I think there's this expectancy now that everybody has to uphold. And Chambers, to be fair, he just looks like he's getting better and better. And we're seeing the Callum Chambers, I believe, that had all those Premier League appearances.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you want to say anything else about Callum Chambers, Aled? Because it's kind of interesting. Again, he's another one who's totally turned a corner and seems to be fighting for his place.
Yeah, I think he's had to. That's the good thing. He's had the likes of Lawler and Fish come into the side, and now Oshaw seems he had a bit of a slow start, but he's starting to play better.
He's really
now,
come good, hasn't he?
Yeah. And as you said, like, we've got 4 centre halves now who are all worthy of playing week in, week out. And I know BBM likes to change it, but Callum Chambers is well, he's clearly been communicated by BBM at the start of this year that your role is going to be a centre half this year. That's clearly been outlined to him, and BBM's laid down the gauntlet to all of them, saying, look, as Jamie said. If you're not 100% in training throughout the week, I don't care what kind of money you're on or what clubs you've been at before, you're not going to play. I'm going to play the best team, and he's doing that. And I think there's, as I said, there's you could argue for all 4 of those guys to start the next game. And I know Lawler's been injured, so we've got to nurse that. But if they're all fit, you could argue for all 4 of them to start. And I think that's a great thing for a guy like Chambers, who's, obviously he's come down to League One, having had all of that Premier League experience, and he might, think he's a big fish in a small pond, but he's really not with the way that the others are playing.
No, that's right, and it's incredible. I'm amazed really how well we've done. We didn't really sign out anyone. Let loads of players go, but we stuck with the youngsters, gave them the chance, and they've just absolutely jumped up for it. Steve Thomas brought something up. I'll start with you, and I might go around the panel on this one. Then I'll start with you, Aled. Steve Thomas, amazed. Hello, Steve. Perhaps I shouldn't be that Jack Wilshere didn't know the double jeopardy rule on the penalty. But I suppose firstly, I suppose the penalty itself, was it a clear-cut penalty, and was it a goal scoring opportunity, and should it have been a red?
Yeah, well, I initially was confused by that. I was like, if he's given the penalty, surely that's got to be a red card. But having looked into it more, I guess, yeah, that is the rule. Initially, from that side angle,
Mad rule, isn't it? It's a mad rule.
It is a mad rule. Yeah, I think it should be a red card.
Crazy to me.
Yeah, it should be. If that was the other way around, we'd be shouting for the red card. Obviously, I'm glad it wasn't, but. Yeah, I think from the first angle, the one that's kind of side on as Bagan's, Bagan's goes back to him, it does look like he's got a touch on the ball.
Yeah.
And if you only had that angle, you would be you'd be clear in thinking that he got the ball. But I think there's an angle from the top of the stand behind it where you can see he doesn't actually touch the ball, so it is a penalty. But I watched it back earlier. And I looked at the referee as soon as the tackle was made, and he looks straight to the linesman. And obviously they've got a headset on. I think he asked the linesman penalty or no penalty, and the linesman's gone, yeah, penalty, because there's a delay in that decision as well. There was 2 or 3 seconds before he made the decision. So I think he's really relied on his linesman there. And yeah, in fairness, that it's the right decision.
Okay, and Nige, there was also talk about it shouldn't even have got as far as that. The lad was offside anyway. What's your thoughts on that, Nige?
Oh no, I didn't know about that. I thought it was fair enough, but I think that double jeopardy rule is good actually, because if he'd deliberately gone to take out the player, it would have been a red card. But he made an honest attempt at the ball. If that had happened outside the penalty area, it would have been a yellow card, not a red. It was inside, but because he went for the ball, that's fine. I think. And that to me seems fair enough, because, to go goal down, lose a player over what was an honest attempt at the ball would have been is very harsh. So I think it's a good rule, that one. But the impressive thing for me is, as Jamie said, when we've had those setbacks the last couple of games, it's had no impact on them at all. Wintle was sent off last week and they raised their game. That penalty went in, and there's no panic. There's confidence, and we just took over that game, and Luton, in that first half, the last 15, 20 minutes of that first half, we were being seriously outclassed by us, and taken to town. And like I said, it was 3 when it could have been 4-5. Osho at the bar, there were a couple of just went inches wide deflections and things. It was, and second week running, the only shot they've had 1 shot on target all game. That was the penalty. Rotherham only had 1 shot on target. The week before with 10 men. So it's not just we're scoring goals at the one end; it's how well we're doing at the other end as well. There's teams are being completely shut out by us at the moment, and if it continues for another few weeks, we'll be celebrating, won't we? We can start the celebrations, but way to go yet.
So, Steve,
I think we'll be all right.
Steve Jones, you're in the room. Can you hear us all okay?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Great. So, I don't know. From my point of view, I was on West Bute Street on Saturday doing some work, and then this guy wandered past with a City shirt and told me you travel from Plymouth to every game. So thanks for coming on.
Yes, I love it. Actually, I wouldn't miss it for the world, honestly.
And of course, you'd be all right on the weekend,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So Steve Thomas, who was on screen at the moment, he travels down. I think I told you this when I saw you. He travels down from Nottingham, but Plymouth is like such a nightmare drive wherever you go, really, isn't it? And you bring your daughter, I think, with you. Yeah?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, me and the missus and the daughter.
Wow. Yeah, does the wife have any say in that at all? Or?
Not really. To be honest, she's worse than I am.
Oh, good.
Yes,
you're originally from the Rhondda, Steve. Are you from Trebannog or somewhere?
Trebannog, I'm from.
Yeah, I'm guessing from your nickname. Yeah.
Yeah, Trebannog.
So we were just talking about the penalty with Joel Bagan. Was it for you? Was it a clear pen? And do you think is it weird with the referee that and Wilshire's response?
I've looked at it several times, and I'm undecided. I don't think it was a penalty personally. The ball was going away from him, really. And when you see it right up close, the ball was going to his right hand side. Whether he would have ever got there, I don't know.
It reminds me of a thing which happened a few years ago. I'm trying to think the left back. Jamie, what's the name of the left back? We played loads of games for us and in the Premiership.
Joe Bennett.
Joe Bennett.
Joe Bennett.
Joe Bennett. There was a similar one in the Premiership game, and it's because he's left-footed.
Yes.
He just looks so awkward when he cuts across that way.
Correct. Yeah. I think that's all it was, really. To be fair.
But a great win nonetheless.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, we tell you what, NG's goal. Right, where did that come from? All of a sudden, 1 minute we were sat in the seat, and the next minute it was in the net. And I thought, my God. And
he really whacked it, didn't he? Yeah. Jamie, do you want to quickly respond on the pen thing yourself?
At first glance in the Canton stand, I was like, yeah, pen. But I always look, and it sounds daft. You know where the assistant referee, he's got a flag for a reason. He wasn't flagging.
No.
And that's what like Alex said there's about the delay. I don't think either of them were fully convinced that it was a penalty because, like you said, the direction of the ball, there's going to be contact, isn't there, when you're going for a ball? That's football for you. But it was frustrating because, like you said, you expect sometimes the official to flag, and that's a clear signal. He didn't. There was nothing. It was almost like thinking, but I always say, isn't it brilliant when you get your humble pie when young Clark comes up to the Canton stand, hushing everybody and so on, and he walks out with his head down outside the stadium after the game because he's got his tail between his legs. But listen, like you said, like we said earlier on, is it only just spurred us on. It didn't take anything out of us. It just woke us up a little bit more and made us go into the next gear. And listen, we one thing I think Nige said about it, one shot on target all game. At the beginning of the season, we were conceding on average about 10 shots a game on target, and Trott was like Spider-Man in goals. We've seemed to have found a way now to play an attacking brand of football, but be strong on the transition and defensively sound. So it's brilliant, and it's all set up for that day in Mansfield when we're all in fancy dress and whatever. Hopefully, anyway.
Yeah, we can look forward to that. I think Peter Kitchen was talking about that, wasn't he? Talking about celebrating if he thinks we're going up anyway. Let me go to you with this one, Jamie, and then I'll go around on the panel on this one as well. So Jeff de la Cruz, our Irish correspondent. He's not really Irish, but he lives in Ireland. How does USAP fit in at the moment? BBM doing a Pep, he used a false nine a lot for a few seasons. Then he got in Haaland, who is, of course, a true nine, but he does mix it at times. Does BBM do the same? Has he sort of discovered a new trick here, Jamie, with, because we're doing okay, aren't we, with this new formation, which I didn't see coming?
No, I think we were forced into a position, weren't we? Let's be honest. We were forced in a way into what we thought we didn't have, which is a backup striker. I think it goes to show why Chelsea, albeit it was an FFP transaction, they see something in Kellerman, because I think we've gone up the level since he's gone on that false nine, just because he's able to drop in and he sees passes around the corner. We're seeing it with Ollie Tanner now, where he's able to take the ball on a half-turn, Kellerman, and link up with his wingers and continue to run. I think he's taken maybe something that Salek doesn't do, but that's not his fault, is he pulls centre halves out of comfortable positions. So then there's gaps in behind. Listen, the Omari Kellerman experiment is fantastic, and I'm all for it, because we've said, why change a winning formula? And Kellerman at the minute is probably going to be just going up levels.
Yeah, he took his goals so well as Ala, didn't he? He is a bit of a class act, isn't he, at this level?
Yeah, he's playing really well, and he's showing all of that potential that Chelsea. I've got a mate who's a Chelsea fan, and he said, yeah, he's one who we're kind of looking at the future, or they view it, because they're such a high level, I suppose. These kind of players, they're like, yeah, could be good, could be not. It's kind of, they're not sure whether they're going to hit the heights of Chelsea, but I think he's one that they are really happy he's having a good season with us. But I think, just going back to the original question, I think BBM. I think BBM's such a good manager that I think he adapts his team based on the opposition as well. So, like, for example, Wimbledon tomorrow night, I think from what I've seen of Wimbledon, I think they're more of a sort of direct physical team. And if Salek was fully fit, I think that would be the type of game Salek would play in, because I think, Wimbledon are going to try and kick us about the park a little bit and whatever. And I think, Salek would be a little bit more robust in that. And he showed that with, he changes the centre half pairing every week. Even though we're winning and we're being consistent, he's not afraid to change the team based on the opposition. And I think, so going back to that question, I think Salek fits in based on what BBM thinks of the opposition that we play. And I don't think there's a team set in stone, and I don't think we'll ever see that with BBM.
Yeah, which is nice now, isn't it? Because without personalising it too much, there have been managers in our fairly recent past who were a bit kind of one-dimensional. That was the way they played, and that was it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I was seeing on BBC tonight, BBM is saying that Salek is still some way off a return anyway. So it doesn't sound like he's going to be around for the next couple of weeks at least. So it's just as well, Kellyman he's another player who's been a revelation, hasn't he? We know he's got quality. We know he's got skill, but he has taken a little bit of time to get over his fitness and get into his stride. He's such a deceptive player, hasn't he? He's got fast feet. The number of interceptions he does, because he closing down players as well. It's not just his skill on the ball. He works so hard off the ball too. And it's like Jamie says, as soon as he's past it, he's making a run as well. And I think that's what's making us so special at the moment. That our attacking talents, if you look at the players we must be a nightmare, because you've got Ollie going at your one side with his directness. Willock is trickery on the opposite side. You've got like Robertson is, we've all been waiting for Robertson to return, and we felt there was something missing. And again, he's taken a few weeks to get back into it, but he's prime at the moment. He is absolutely firing. And then you've got the attacking talents as well in the middle. And then even at the weekend, the players we bring off the bench, Ashford and Isaac Davis a week before, he's not about for another week or two. But we're bringing real attacking talents off the bench as well. There's not any player there who you think, they're not up to this level. Robbo's struggling a little bit, we know, but he's one of those players. If he gets one goal next game, he'll probably get 2 or 3. But it's all looking so promising, isn't it?
So what's your thoughts on that, Steve? Because we've spoken about this a couple of times on the show. I was when he surprised me at the beginning of the season when he put the youngster Turner in goal. He just makes those calls, he makes those calls, and that's it. And I was surprised when when Youssef was out. Here's Robbo's chance, and he's still sort of picking up sawdust on the bench.
Yeah, I know, it's a hard one to take sometimes, because when he comes on, he's so eager. He wants a goal.
Yeah,
it's just not going in for him. Everything he's tried, doesn't he? I thought he was in.
He's been close loads of times, hasn't he?
How it stayed out, I don't know. But yeah, I like Robinson. I know he's been a bit of a time on the bench this season, but it's good. The competition's good. There's so many players there up front, like we were just saying. Kellyman's on fire, really. He loves it. He loves that role. But anybody in that front 5 or 6 can get a goal at any time, which is great.
Yeah,
we're not relying on one player. Salek, when he comes back, he'll be the same thing.
Yeah,
I think Barry will swap things around a little bit now and again.
Do you think he might? Do you think he might, Steve? Sorry, do you think he might stick with Kellyman and maybe have Youssef coming on, later on when they're a bit beaten up,
Yeah, I think it'd be hard to take him out now, wouldn't it? Really, the way he's playing.
Yeah. It's working so well, isn't it? Maybe again, he's the modern manager, isn't he? That's the way he does things, I suppose.
I suppose we haven't got that physicality that Salek has got.
No,
that's the only difference. But it doesn't seem to bother anybody. We still play the same way. We attack all the time, and we're scoring goals for fun. It's great.
And we're scoring really good goals as well, really beautifully worked goals. And often, a couple on the weekend, really, Turnbull's finish was lovely. Great go through ball from Joel. And, the goals Kellyman scored, they're really sublime goals, it's not banging it up in the air in Division 1 and get on the end of that sun stuff, We don't do that, really, do we?
We don't do scrappy goals, do we, really?
No. Because I watched some of the highlights on the weekend, and I watching Lincoln a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can see why they're up there, a bit like Stockport, really. Just big lumps, good in the air, dangerous at corners, and a handful,
Yeah.
So we still got to keep our eye on them. But I think we are out of the league as a football team. Jamie, would you say?
Yeah, I a slightly controversial take would be that when you have Salah in there, you probably know what his game is, which is almost like a typical League One defender is a physical game. And I think at times, maybe because of his quality, but his ability, I think the manager is levels ahead with his football IQ than any other manager in the league. And I think we're seeing that because, he's got the ability, like I said, it's about being proactive or reactive. And in the past, we've been more reactive because we're losing games, whereas he's got a plan. And like you said, this Kellerman change isn't by fluke. As per the Joel Colwell situation, Joel Colwell goes under the radar. I don't think Kellerman's is effective if he doesn't have a Joel Colwell's legs around him to be able to get in those positions, to cover the amount of ground that he does. And, we talk about the way we're playing. I looked at the stats for Ollie Tanner, and you look at it, he's got 7 assists, I believe, in his last 6
it's crazy. Yeah.
But you look at it, he's now 5th overall in the league. Contrast, he's only played 14 games with 8 assists. The top 5 have either played 20 games and more. Now, Ollie Tanner we know he's a flair player. He's somebody who's confident. Ollie Tanner this year, you look at his right foot and you think, what? We know he's got it, but now he's using it even more. It's frightening. And again, we've got so many strings to our bow that you can only imagine that tomorrow, like Wimbledon, their away form is better than their home form, but they're going to have to think, well, hang on, we can't probably bully us because, like we said earlier on, is they are big and physical. But what do you do about big and physical players? You go round them, you go behind them, and I think we've just got so much pace in the team. And like you said, unfortunately, Isaac Davis has got that horrible collision. I'm sorry that the EFL need to wake up and realise that that's unacceptable. To take any action against that.
I want to come on to that because Graham said the same thing here, and I want to talk about this a bit with the panel again. Still fuming, no action by EFL for the assault on Davis, and he's totally taken out off the ball. I think it was a lad called McWilliams is the chief suspect. He's out, yet the player who's done it can play on. So we got that one, Jamie, right? And then we got the Stockport game, where the manager famously made that comment about changing someone's facial features, or, more or less, that's what I expect from my players, right? Talking about Joel Colwell. And that, challenge on Youssef, which apparently wasn't even a foul. And he's been out over a month now, and we don't know when he's back. It's a slight worry, I suppose, with the youngsters, I suppose, in this division, that at League One they're going to put it about, aren't they? That's how they're going to go.
That's testimony, I think, to the manager, because it took him 30 odd games to actually say something, which he's all calm and collected. So I think he was very clever on that. He bought his time, but that Stockport game, we can argue about the Salek situation. Yeah, okay, it might be a footballing contact, whatever. But then the second half, there's a blatant elbow on Ryan Wintle. They smacked him, looked at him, smacked him in the face, and the referee just give a yellow card. So, okay, that's fine. But then it becomes a pattern. And like you said, the Rotherham situation, yes, okay, you could say you apply the letter of the law for that, the Wintle red card. He was very quick getting his card out, may I add. But if you're going to use that as an excuse or your reasoning, you're applying the letter of the law, then you need to be consistent with it. And we often praise referees if they do something well. But at the end of the day, they're not doing... Well, in my opinion, anyway, it feels like they're doing a lot to almost derail us and put a spanner in the works, because there's being physical, and then there's being bullies and old school centre halves. We've seen it with the Swindon Town situation. Ian Holloway was fuming, but you can't go round grabbing people in the inappropriate places and think it's acceptable. Football's changed, and you've got a duty of care, and that's the key thing for me, is a duty of care to your players and a duty of care to young players especially. And I think referees this year haven't done it particularly well.
What about you, Alad, in terms of the physicality? Because, after the game, the Stockport game, for example, there were a couple of, it wasn't just the challenge on Youssef, there was another elbow which looked even more premeditated to me. And with the Youssef one, he had a run-in with that player just a few moments before, it was retaliatory challenge. It seems it's kind of almost dangerously inept sometimes to referee in at this level, and things are going on which are, problematic, aren't they?
Yeah, and Yusuf Salik's the prime example, really, of a player who's not been protected by the referees at all this season. He's been assaulted almost every week, and now, as we've seen, he's paid the price for that by having quite a serious injury from it. And I just think, if I'm BBM though, I'm taking it as a compliment. I'm saying to the players, they're kicking you because you're too good for them. You're too quick for them. You're too sharp for them. And I think we haven't got promoted yet. Obviously, there's a long way to go, but it's looking good at the moment. And if we get out of this league, we will see less of that. I think there are seasoned pros in this league who are 30, 31, 32, 33, who look at this team and go, it's a team of kids. We're going to bash them about for 90 minutes and see what happens. Just on the referee thing, it's difficult. I think they need to be protected more. As Jamie said, the game has changed. You can't have that kind of Mick Harford type player now who's just elbowing everyone every week. Interestingly, I've seen from the Premier League. Have you seen some of these videos have been released of the refs' mics and the refs' body cams in the Premier, and they're actually a really interesting watch, because they do show the referee how thorough the referees are, and they're constantly communicating to their at
that level.
Yes, that and what we've got the technology. We've got the technology available. There's plenty of money in football. Why can't that be done? Down the tiers as well, all throughout the football league. I'm not saying you have to upload the full 90 minutes of the ref body cam every week, but when there are those kind of moments, release that and show the process that's being taken place, and how the referees and the assistants have come to those decisions. I just think it would clear things up for fans a lot more, and they're protecting each other essentially by not releasing it.
Yeah, interesting. Nigel, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, exactly. As all the boys are saying, it's it is just the level that we're at, and there's very few teams that will play football like we do. A lot of the teams in this division are physical. The one good thing with Cardiff is early in the season we were getting intimidated by teams that were very physical in our faces, but we dealt with that now. The one that really has shocked me really is the Isaac Davis one last week, because that was a guy who stepped over towards him, and then as he's running by him, just put a forearm in his face. With the ball in the goal. Yeah, there is footage. Yeah, it's not the best, but there's you can clearly see that as Isaac Davis is sort of making his way upfield, this player sort of takes 3 or 4 steps backwards to get into his path, and as Isaac is level with him and literally just running by him, he throws an arm up into his face. So that's why he was taken out, but the ball was in the goalkeeper's hand. It trots hand 30 yards away. So it's an incident that's happened off the ball where there's nothing going on. So how the EFL can just say, "Oh, there's nothing to see here," is incredible. And I know he had delayed concussion, but from what I hear, he can't remember scoring the 3rd goal. He wasn't aware he'd scored it until afterwards. And I do know someone who was with him yesterday, and apparently they said he's absolutely fine. He's quite quiet, Isaac, from what I understand. So, it's just concussion protocol. So hopefully he will be back in after this weekend coming, I think. But that's just nasty. And you could see at final whistle, he was in some distress. And I think those of us in the away end thought he'd had some sort of hamstring injury at first, but it was the concussion. It just, really knocked him for 6. But if you're running past someone and they throw an arm in your face, you're going to be badly affected by it, because you're not prepared for it. You've got no means of defending yourself. It's just cowardly. And for the EFL to get some footage and go, there's nothing even to talk about here. It just gobsmacks me. I think if it had been a Cardiff player, it might have been a different story.
Yeah, Steve, just to play like devil's advocate, I suppose a couple of things. We are the targets, Willock was right. Everyone wants to be Cardiff City. Everyone wants to put one over on Cardiff City. If we get a result at our place, blimey, that's fantastic. If we were if some of the other clubs, I'm literally just trying to get a debate going with you now, but other clubs could say, oh, big time Charlies, Cardiff, they've come down in this division, moaning, they've getting a bit of physical, What a bunch of softies, they might say, Steve.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, really, isn't it? Because you expect so much when you go out on the pitch. You're gonna get pushed around, and one or two will hold a bit of a grudge, and they'll get them back later in the day or whatever. But I still think the refereeing is shocking. The officials themselves, they've got to be the ones that stand up and say, like, that is a foul or that is not a foul, and take the appropriate action. If somebody's done something like that, it should be off the field. And like I said, that game, the Stockport game, that was a shocker.
Terrible. Second one in particular was awful.
Really disgusting. He should have been off.
Yeah.
And
It wasn't. Yeah.
We all give him a hard time after that, didn't we? But nothing made any difference. He still stayed on that field.
And then the manager, like I said, came out and said, Challoner, when they came out and said what he said after the game.
Yeah.
I mean, why isn't? How can he say something like that?
I know.
Effectively, that if you're going to let players score goals against you, at least you should change their physical appearance, for the rest of their lives. Absolutely. How can you say that? And it's just waved on,
Every player's got a family to go home to in the evening.
Yeah.
Salah didn't make it. He went to the hospital. It's just not right.
Yeah.
There's always physicality in the game, but you could see there was a bit of a needle all the way through the two of them.
Yes. I mean, because Youssef, let's face it, he's to his great credit, he's a big lad, but he's absolutely up for the battle. He's not going to be bullied.
No.
Is he? I know he won't be bullied when he comes back either. I'm sure he'll just want to crack on, won't he?
Phenomenal.
Yeah. There was a great question earlier, Steve, which I'll ask you about first, and then we'll get the opinion. It's a really good question. To do with Ruben versus Joel, yeah?
Yeah.
Which is the best attacking asset for Cardiff City?
Ooh. I have to say Joel.
Yeah.
For me, at the moment, I know Ruben's been out for a while, but Joel seems to have that something at the moment, and he's full of confidence. And he's popping up with the goals as well, which is great. It's good. It's a good little bit of rivalry between brothers, really, isn't it? When you look at it.
And we haven't had many brothers. We're talking about the Bennetts earlier. We haven't had the Gileses, I suppose. We haven't had many brothers, really.
No, that's right. Yeah, but it's nice, really. It was good to see Ruben back.
Yeah.
I know he didn't have much of a time on the field, but you can see he was itching to get back on that field and do what he did before.
Well, he should have had an assist. He skipped past that left back like he weren't there and put it on a play for Robinson, who, in my opinion, there's a tad of bad fortune. It comes off the keeper, but Robinson should score that for me.
That should have been in. I know.
Yeah.
I thought it was in at the time because everybody stood up in front of me, so I couldn't see it. But then, there we go. What
about you, Jamie? The Battle of the Colwills. Nice to see the one replacing the other on the weekend as well, by the way.
Yeah, that was a lovely moment. It's a tough one because they're two different types of players, aren't they? One is, you look at it and I think Joel is more versatile. I think you can play Joel as a 6, you can play him as an 8, you can play him anywhere, and he's got the legs to do it. Whereas Ruben's someone you don't want deep in on a pitch. You want him higher up because the way he's able to, like you said, he just strides past people, and that left back, he was nowhere near him the other day. And the ability that Ruben's got to put a cross in on a sixpence is uncanny. And like you said, he's got, like someone said there, he's got his set pieces as well. All I will say is his mum and dad have done very well to have two brilliant footballing children, but they are assets to our club. And like we said pre-show, is they are ours. And the biggest thing for me is making sure that we keep ours and we don't just, for the sake of doing it, make a quick buck here and there. No, we keep them and we build around them, because Joel, I watched Joel last year at Exeter in the second half of the season, and he didn't get as much game time, but you could see the player he just mops everything up. I think he's going to be massive for us, especially going into next year where Wintle at the minute hasn't got a contract, extension sorted. Could he be a number 6 for us next year? Could he be a 6 or an 8 with Robinson? He's got definitely a massive part to play for us, I think, Joel.
Yeah, and also, of course, as somebody said earlier about when Yusuf's back and Isaac, we've pretty well got a full squad. But of course, Eli King, there's another one who's been out all season, who's another contender for that position. The Battle of the Colwills, Aled.
Why does it need to be a battle? I think
Well, it's a phone in. We've got to make it a battle, haven't we? It's a job, you know.
As I've kind of said on here before, I love them playing together because obviously they're brothers.
Yeah.
They've got that kind of intangible chemistry with each other from obviously growing up playing with each other, and I think that's something obviously quite unique. And it's tough competition at the moment because obviously Wintl's been outstanding and he was only out of the team this week probably because he was banned. And then you got Turnbull's played really well, scored on the weekend. Kellyman's taken up a different role. Joel's been outstanding. So it's kind of a who's who of who you play in that team. But I think if you were asking me to pick our best 11, I think I'd have both the Colwills in there.
Fair enough.
I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. We'll be here all night.
No, I just suppose that's a byproduct to some extent, isn't it? Something which a lot of us don't feel should be happening, but seems to be working so well. Is this variation, mixing it up and bringing players in and out, and he's got those assets, so he's just mixed it about, and it seems to be working really well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the season, when they were changing the centre backs every game, I think a lot of us was doing our nuts in. Why are you changing it? But now we've adapted to it. And think back a year ago, with Omar Risa, he was basically doing the same thing. He was like throwing all the pieces in the air.
We weren't winning.
No, there were 4 or 5 changes every game, and we were all crucifying him for what he was doing because it made no sense. But a year on, BBM's doing pretty much the same thing, but it's having a magnificent impact, and it goes against all your gut instincts, really, doesn't it? To just change winning teams every week, and I've got no doubt again tomorrow we'll see at least 4 changes. I would imagine tomorrow, but it's not going to bother us because we've now got accustomed to it, and whoever goes into that team, whatever position they're asked to do, they're going to know their job and they're going to do it. It's and it's testimony to the coaching and the training and the drills that they have down there that they're able to do that because and how good a coach BBM is, because I can't imagine there's many other teams who could change game to game like we do and lose the players that we do for different reasons and have nil impact at all on performance or results.
How long is this contract now, by the way?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I think it was 2 years. I think was it 2 or 3 years? 2 years, Jamie?
I think it was 3 because I think someone said it was the longest contract we've given a manager in 7 times. All
right. So that's reassuring. That's a decent one. I think my gut feeling is that as and when we get out of this league, Nige, that BBM probably wants to stick around to be part of the project to take us as far as he can. I think he's going to be that kind of ambitious guy.
You'd like to think so, but football being what it is, if there's a team who's a manager lower Premier League or something, he's going to look really attractive, isn't he? What he's done. He'll be very attractive to most clubs because he's not spent a lot of money and he's produced what he has. But that's going to be the same story with many of our players. The performance levels that they're putting in, that's going to attract attention. But that's part of success. That's what's going to happen. But you would like to think that if we go up, we'll keep the team together and the nucleus of that team, and hopefully Vincent will support it, or something will happen to really get this club going forward. We don't want this to be a one-season wonder and then stagnate again, as we've seen for the last 5 years, isn't it? This brought us to where we were this season. There has to be continued development here, and we're all loving everything that's happening on the pitch, but we're honest with ourselves. Off the pitch, nothing much has changed at the club. We're just doing extremely well football-wise. So the acid test is going to come. The acid test is this summer. If we go up, what are the club going to do then? And we still don't know.
we've got less than 10 minutes, but obviously the Emmy Salah case has got to play out, and that's going to have an impact on the future. I think in lots of ways. Nigel, we talked earlier about brothers. We mentioned the Giles, Paul and David. My favorite pairing was the Bennetts. You're raving about them before. For anyone who didn't see the Bennetts, want to give us a few seconds on Gary strolling through centre defence and getting Dave away down the right wing?
Yeah, well, Dave Bennett was a really good player at Manchester City anyway, wasn't he? And we were a struggling Division 2 team at the time, now Championship level. And they brought Dave Bennett for 120,000, and Gary Bennett came just to keep his brother company, I think, for no other reason than that. But Dave Bennett was a mercurial talent on the wing. Ollie Tanner is as good as he is. Dave Bennett was sort of light years ahead of him in terms of ability and skills and what he could do, his trickery and everything. And he would weigh in with quite a few goals over the season as well. And we were talking before the show, weren't we, when he played for the Coventry in the cup final and starred. And I think, a lot of people thought he was Brazilian. He was that good that day. An amazing player. And we were blessed to see someone like that for a couple of years at the club. And then Gary turned into quite a top-class player himself and also went on into the top division, didn't he, with Sunderland and a couple of other clubs as well. So, what an amazing pair of brothers that they were. And if the Colwills can emulate them, and I've got every belief that they will, and that's what we got to enjoy these times. We're watching a special group of players at the moment, some amazing talents. And there's not, I don't think I've seen a season in my lifetime where we've been top of the league for so long, played so well for so long, got this great results. I meant 46-47, I know, is like the gold standard in terms of the results. I think they won 30 through 6, lost 6 that season. And we've had nothing else like that since, even though we've been champions a couple of times. This is absolutely stunning what we're doing at the moment, isn't it? Unbeaten in 11, and the way they're playing at the moment, you could think it's not inconceivable they might not lose a game then the rest of the season. Of course, that can happen, but you don't feel like they will at the moment, because they're playing that well.
And 15 games to go, Steve, on the weekend, obviously, with Lincoln and Bolton drawing, takes us 4 points ahead of second, 10 points ahead of fourth, and 20 points ahead of seventh now, which is Luton, which we should be okay for the playoffs, But even as a City fan, we can't blow this one. We'd be all right. So obviously the Bennett brothers were great days, and I'm sure you remember the excitement. Dave Bennett coming down the right every time on the bob bank, he'd get the ball, the whole place was lifted. But it's funny, isn't it, Steve? It's kind of funny how this has worked out. I think I can safely say that as City fans, we're all, this season in League One has blown the Premiership seasons out of the water.
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. It's been a ride to the top for the whole season so far, and I can't believe that, like I said, that they're still top of the league, and we've been there for most of the season. Let's be fair, and it's brilliant, and to be that far ahead of third and fourth place, it just gives you it's great. It's just the joy, if you like, and the effort the boys have been put in, and they deserved every point that they've gained. I
heard earlier that we've been top since match day 5, and it's match day 33, I think, tomorrow.
Wow, that's right. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, something like that.
It's phenomenal. Actually, I've not seen a season like this ever.
Apparently, we're 33-1 on for promotion next season already. Lump on, Jeff. Lump on.
Yeah, there you go. worth a tenner, eh?
It's worth a tenner. I wish I put 100 on City to win the league this year. I should.
If they do go up, I don't think the Championship is fantastic this season. You look at the teams who are knocking around the playoffs, like Preston, Millwall, and good. They're having good seasons, but they're not teams to fear if we go up, and they're the teams who are up there. So why not? Particularly if we can have 8 in the playoffs next season. They're talking about extending to down to 8th place.
I hate that idea, though. I got to say.
Oh, it's shocking!
I think it'll go through, though. I think they'll vote it through.
Yeah,
you can see why in terms of keeping it interesting and exciting. But I think it's ridiculous nonsense. But there we are. Talking about the number of games to go, 15 games to go. Jamie, people talking about 8 more wins that could do it. Be nice to break the 100 mark, I suppose, points wise. But it's just getting up and getting out of this division, Jamie's whether we win the league, whether we come second. Let's get out of this league, isn't it?
100%. I think we all would have said it at the beginning of the season. If you'd have said it Port Vale away when we drew 0-0 that we'd be at a canter now, I think we'd have bitten, we would have all laughed at it. Do you know what I mean? But again, you haven't got a plus 28 goal difference and 66 points at this stage of the season for a fluke. We're there where we are on merit. I mean, I know people will say, "Oh, but you're not going to do this." I hate it when people say, "Oh, but they've got big players, they've got a big wage bill." No one was saying that about Birmingham City when they spent 15 to 20 million pound on Jay Stansfield last year.
Yeah.
We're doing it our way, which is with most of our youngsters. And at first, I was a bit, had that bit of trepidation, thinking, "Oh my goodness, is it going to work?"
Yeah.
What a blessing it's been, and we've always said about the silver lining. Nobody wanted to go down. No one wants a relegation, but this is probably the reset that we needed. And I stand by it. I genuinely think that this time last year, Dylan Lawler was in the 21s. Ronan Gapaka was playing in 21s over Leckwith at 2:00. Now they're in every match day squad. They're being picked for Wales. There's a reason why that they are being picked is because the manager that we finally have got right has given them the platform to perform. And listen, I still think we're going to be there. I mean, I'm looking now, third place on 56 points, but they've only got a plus 12 goal difference. So you can add another point on that 10 just to say that alone.
We're plus 20, we're plus 28, I think, aren't we?
Yeah. So again, mate, that gap between third, when I seen it, Drew, when Bolton scored the other day, I was buzzing. I almost celebrated in my head more than what I'd celebrated for the second goal we scored, because I was thinking that was the result I wanted. I wanted them both to sort of drop points, because we dropped points the other week, didn't we? And Lincoln had gained the 2 on us. So we're nearly there. I'm not going to say the famous last words, because I'm sure someone could clip that up and say, but we're nearly there. We're not far off.
Come the end of the season, we'll find a fat lady and bring her on to sing a song. Yeah, we'll see if we can do that. We got 2 big games this week. Of course, we got Wimbledon tomorrow, who thrashed us for what it's worth, 5-1 in the Kickabout Cup. Jeff was talking about this season with 33-1 on for this season, not 33-1 for next season. He's pointed that one out. So Wimbledon at home tomorrow could be, again, what's going to be, I think, a very physical game again. And then, of course, we go to Steve's backyard to play Plymouth on the weekend. So, Steve, I'll go to you first. Give us predictions for those 2 games.
2-0 first game.
Yep.
And Plymouth, I'd like to say 2-1 to us, but Plymouth are playing bloody well. Sadly,
they've had a good run, haven't they? They've come good.
My neighbour keeps rubbing it in, and they're catching up.
Over your garden fence, see by any chance?
No chance. But so I got a feeling we'll draw there. I think it'll be 2 each.
Okay, that'd be fine. Another 4 points out of 2 games.
Yeah,
bingo.
We might nick it. We played well last season. Until we got man sent off. Otherwise, we could have won that game. But
actually, looking at the points over the last 6 games, Plymouth, I think I've got as many points as us over the last 6 games, actually, and Lincoln, and I think also Bolton, actually. Jamie, what's your predictions for those 2 games?
Minimum 4 points out of 6. I think tomorrow, like you said, it's pretty physical. They've got an old school sort of team. Their away form is better than their home form. So, take that what you will. And as for Saturday, I just look then. Out of the last 6 meetings against them, we've won 3, drew 2, and they've only won 1. So, and they're missing Joe Ralls, who unfortunately is out for the season. Which I think when he first signed, I thought he's going to do something against us, isn't he? But listen, the exact same date. Well, I think it's pretty much the same time as last year that we went down there. We got a draw last year down there, so I'd take a point. I've always said take a point at the minimum on the road, win your home games. It's a good foundation for going up, isn't it?
Yeah. 2 points a game, you go up as champions generally. Aled, what's your predictions?
I'll go 2-0 tomorrow night. I think it's going to be one of them games where we have to be patient and maybe wait an hour or so for the first goal. And then I think when they push a little bit for an equaliser at the end, we might get that comfort blanket in the last 5 minutes or so. Probably not a pretty one, but they're going to sit behind the ball probably, and we're just going to have to break them down. And I agree with Jamie. I think a point away at Plymouth on, they're playing well at the moment. Home Park's always a difficult place to go. It's a good atmosphere down there. I think they rely on their home form as well, based just where they are in the country. Teams traveling down, we're not so bad where we're placed, but like
Still a fair
the
drive.
northern teams traveling down there, it's a long trek in it. So I'll go 1-1 for Saturday.
Okay.
It's about 500 meters from here.
It's
just down the road there.
I'm overrunning, but I've got to ask you something before we go. Nige, do you want to give me quick 2 predictions?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because 4 of the next 5 after tomorrow are away, and the only home game in the next month is Lincoln after tomorrow night. So I think they've got to make tomorrow count, and I think they will. Again, I fancy them for a 3-0, maybe 3-1 tomorrow. Plymouth, yeah, again, like everyone else, I'd be more than happy with a draw there. But I've just got a funny feeling we're going to nick it. I just think we're in that vein of confidence and form at the moment that we will do. We can get a good result there as well, and then hopefully that will carry us forward into the other challenges we got coming up after that.
Okay, what a really cool T-shirt you're wearing tonight, CBGBs, by the way. Just
Thank you.
That, yeah. Steve, two questions. One of them is a yes/no.
Yeah.
Do you wear that shirt around the streets of Plymouth on a regular basis?
Always.
Well done. And secondly, and really great to get you on tonight. Thanks a lot. I'm glad we managed to get you on. Sorry I didn't send the invite earlier. How much would it mean to you to put one over on Plymouth in your back garden, more or less, this weekend?
I'd love it. I'd be the first to go to my neighbour next door and say, "Sorry, mate, but we got it today." So tuned.
Excellent. Well, let's hope it happens.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's a good rivalry. To be fair, he's a nice lad, and we have a bit of a laugh and a joke. But when we tend to win and they lose, I don't see him for a while. He doesn't come out.
Well, let's hope you don't see him for months.
Yes. Yeah, very good.
All right. Cheers, Steve. Thanks
all the best, everybody.
See you all. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Thank you.
This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans for fans. Balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.